with the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible. We called him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Seabird.
Hey, welcome to Combat Vet Vision. This is a place where I really get to talk about, issues related to combat vets, things that are coming up in life. A lot of things that personally affecting me, but affecting our combat vets, our veterans, our sponsor supporters and volunteers get on deck. They talk a lot about things that they're doing to help support the mission and a lot of things like that. Today I have Jessica Phillips on deck. She is United States Air Force vet. Super important as a female vet. We'll talk about that a little bit. But Jessica, hey, thanks a lot for being on the show.
Hey.
We're gonna talk about triggers and a whole bunch of things. But first, talk about your experience of why you joined the Air Force and why did you join the military? What's going on with all that?
So my grandfather served in the Navy, and at the time, it was a long line of family members serving in the military, including my brother, my older brother. But I wanted to get in there, and it just, I guess at the time, I was really looking forward to the education part of it. Also, not just the education, but they, whenever I went in, we were actually, I was going to school to be a doctor in the Air Force. So I was looking to make a difference for my brothers and sisters that were in uniform, and that was my mission. As far as in the medical field, I wanted to serve them in that type of way.
Yeah, that's an important thing. And a lot of times you're still helping out a lot of veterans. You're helping out a lot of combat vets. You're doing a lot of things. You volunteer for the PTSD Foundation of America, and that's peer-to-peer mentorship for combat vets and a whole bunch of other things. But we talked about a little bit this morning about being a female veteran, that sometimes you kind of wash that down. And I think female veterans have this thing, they kind of wash it down a little bit. And I just want to talk about it a little bit because female veterans, they served. And one of the things I noticed is the Army allowed their females to be in combat, and every other service did not during the time that I was in Iraq. And I used to think to myself, and I even talked to a female Marine, I was like, here the Marines are, the big proud thing on the planet, but the Marine females aren't allowed in combat. How does it make you feel to watch this Army gal walk in with a saw on her? And even my experience of going over into combat a little bit, I had to take a ride, and the female was the gunner on the Humvee. So the female role is kind of washed down sometimes. I went to a committee meeting this week about females, and they talked about that a little bit. Give your impression on that. And I know we talked about it this morning, and I said, hey, I want you to make sure you put the U.S. Air Force up there because you served, you took you raised your hand, you made it happen. So just kind of talk about what that means to you and your feelings and your whole situation on that.
I as you said, I definitely want to bring that out again. Is like, the Air Force and Navy, you don't see a lot of women vets going in, definitely combat wise. And I was like, my feelings towards that is, I do see that, a lot of times we do get put in, like, I feel like in the like back burner, as a female vet. And I kind of sympathize with people, female veterans as well, that are experiencing that even today. But for me, as like what you were mentioning on that part, I'm kind of like one of those people where be honest, I went to school. I was in school for, the Air Force, and I was going in, like I said, to be a doctor. And sometimes I see like, of course I didn't deploy or anything like that. The father of my children did, but I didn't. And a lot of times I feel like even, people that are in the, I guess, like, what would you say is like in the background, at the hospitals, on Fort Bragg, I guess now is Fort Liberty, but, they are doing a lot too. Even though they're not deployed, I feel like a lot of times they don't even get recognized as well. Some of our colonels that I got to meet when I was stationed there at Fort Liberty was Colonel Hopkins. She was a nurse practitioner. That was an amazing woman. And I feel like a lot of times that she didn't even get like, I guess, notice for everything that she was doing. So yeah, I feel like that's a sometimes that can I feel like that is an issue a little bit there for female vets not getting recognized and not actually being able to. I would say like the Air Force and the Navy in particular. Army, I did see a lot of female vets being able to like at the time being able to go overseas and like you said experience that combat. But in Air Force and Navy, not so much. I agree with that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to highlight that because, I don't get a chance to always highlight female veterans enough on here. But I'm really glad that you came on and kind of gave your scope on that because, a lot of women say, yeah, I served, but I don't feel like I'm a veteran. And we, talk about stigmas and triggers. And I know you want to get into the trigger part. And this is something that you brought up, and it's really awesome. You just completed school on a whole bunch of things you want to get into studying. You got a lot of contacts, you got a lot of support network systems. So, we'll get into that a little bit too. But, these triggers, feel free to talk about what you want to talk about that. And we'll direct that however you want to go with that.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I would say that the first thing that I kind of wanted to go over a little bit is to help. I kind of want to help families actually. Um, I feel like a lot of times as your vet, your active duty, it could be your spouse and now as a vet, or they could still be active duty. Um, they're going to come out of training different. They're going to come home different. And I think that a lot of times it's that communication, navigating triggers is one of my biggest things that I've actually been studying. Um, and as a family, as we go through this process as maybe the out processing, right? We got a vet that's out processing or whatever, and here's the triggers, right? Here's this is how we're going to communicate. um I think understanding those triggers, because every single one of us is different, right? Every single one of us is going to have different triggers. So I can't sit here and say, this person's going to have, this trigger. It boils down to the communication and your vet feeling comfortable communicating those triggers with you, and you're going to be able to pick up on them as well. And I think it's the, understanding that, okay, hey, the smells, certain words, it can boil down to all different type, even loud noises. Like I said, noises in general can trigger, could be part of the triggers. I know a lot of people might even say, well, hey, family members are like, it smells, really smells. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that can be triggers for a vet. Um, so I kind of wanted to go over those things and let families have a little bit more information on that. Um, I've had many of my friends, out processing and stuff like that, and sometimes it might seem like it's easy for your vet to, the out process, and you got your DD 214, and you're like, doing all this stuff, but it's not an easy process. It's a lot of paperwork. It can be stressful, and there's ways as you have a vet that's going through that, that could even have triggers with dealing without processing. So having someone, even including like yourself, you're doing so much for our vets as well. Having people that other vets can come to that's already been through that process is something that I am so glad that we have now, because I know many vets before us probably didn't even have these certain things that we have in place now. But one of the things that I want to do is definitely, like I said, go over the impact of triggers. What do you think, like, as far as like impacting, like as triggers wise, what's your input on that?
Yeah, when you talk about communication, it's super important to have the family be open to communication, because um, a veteran may feel and react very angry, or feel grumpy and frustrated, and unable to kind of really open up and speak if you don't give that doorway, saying, no matter what you're feeling, give us a chance to kind of mill it out. And an example would be, you're walking in crowds, and you know sometimes the crowd's way too packed up on my back, and I need to be able to
Mhm.
communicate, hey, I got to pull aside for a sec. I need to readjust. I need to make sure everything's safe. And then we can continue once this pack of people are off my back, because they're super close and I'm not very comfortable. So if I don't have the ability to kind of open that up, then I just get frustrated. I'm like, still, trying to stay with the family, and the family's like, what's wrong with you? And not really. And it doesn't make sense for you to tell them what's wrong with you if you don't have that support. And so it's super important to that's just an example of one of those things where you need to have that great open communication, so the family doesn't become irritated as well. And then it blows up into this huge thing and
Mhm.
causes a lot of problems if that's the case. And, hopefully that answers some of your thoughts on it. And I think that's really great that you bring this up, because communication is super important, and to have all these support networks. And if that isn't the case, to be able to reach out to a battle buddy and talk about it later on, or these situations
Yeah.
arise, you know and maybe you're learning how to manage your triggers, but we got to open that communication up to say, hey, look, I'm learning my triggers, and I'm learning how to better manage them when they arise. Because we talked about it too, where we don't really care what you call it, a trigger, a frustration, um, an irritation, whatever it is that it is.
Mhm.
It's important to, what are you doing about it in the best possible way. And sometimes the situation just packs up and it doesn't allow you to really communicate so well. But as long as you're trying to reach that goal of communication in the best path possible, that's where it's really going to matter.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things that I do hear a lot, and I hope that this can actually help families that are listening in, is uh, certain words that we communicate as well, or even being told, grow up, um, uh, you know, uh, woman up, man up. Those are trigger words. How we are communicating with our vet plays a big part in how they trust us. Having that space where they can feel comfortable to be in themselves will open the door for you to have more understanding on how to help them. And I feel like if they do not feel comfortable in that moment to open up, then they're going to turn to other things, or even, maybe even isolate themselves because they don't want to feel like a burden. And that can play a big factor in shutting down and not feeling okay. I can't even communicate with the ones that are close to me, but I because they want to understand, and I'm trying to tell them in the way that I am expressing, and I know it's hard for them to see me like this, but I'm trying, and I feel like you said, sometimes it's anger, right? Like it's being in a crowd and it's loud, and one of the things is like, okay, I got to keep an eye on my family. I've got to um oh, that person just yelled really loud. Oh, there's a big boom. Those are all triggers. And it doesn't even have to be extremely loud. It can just be slightly just a tap. And that could even be a trigger. So what is your thoughts as far as like words? Like what do you feel like as far as words communicating for families to communicate with their vet?
Yeah, you brought that up as kind of like a way to talk to your spouse. And I don't know if words always necessarily the way to go, because the crowds can be so loud. Those words might not work, but it might be a tap. Like you need to tap your wife, or you need to tap your friends, or whatever, and you need to kind of set this up in advance. Like, hey man, if it gets kind of weird, I need to tap you so you can communicate with me, and then we can step aside and maybe readdress the situation and put me in a safe spot for the moment. I mean, those things are all incredible things, and I think the other part is, like you were kind of hitting on, was, is your home life set up so that it's comfortable enough so you're not isolating and then taking on a whole bunch of stuff. If you're an alcoholic, if you're drinking all the time but your spouse still drinks and there's alcohol in the house, then that doesn't lead to a very good environment. Same with PTSD and all these triggers. If you have all these loud noises in the house all the time and there's not a quiet time or a trusting space, like you said, you need to be able to trust those that are around you and your friends. So you need to surround yourself with good people that you can trust, and you need to surround yourself with good environments that you can associate in, even if you push the boundaries on those environments, so that you get the stimulation and at the same time learn how to cope with the situational craziness that may occur, like the taps and the smacks and the booms. And 4th of July is a great example of this, is because it's such a beautiful holiday. It allows America to feel these explosive booms that we never want to have to feel in real life, of what that exactly means if houses and property and people are involved. You don't want to see those kind of things going on. But in the back of our minds as veterans, we kind of focus on that big, when booms hit, people were dying and things were blowing up. And so, you talk about all these cool places and things and isolations, and super, super important. Hey, let's come back with some other thoughts. Unless you want to throw anything out there right now, we'll take a break real quick, and we'll come back after the PSA from the VA.
Okay.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Veteran service organizations, often known as VSOs, offer many services for veterans, service members, dependents, and survivors. Whether it's holding job fairs, finding solutions to challenges such as homelessness, healthcare, or financial issues, or educating veterans on federal, state, county, and local benefits, VSOs are a great resource for veterans. VSOs also offer veterans a place to socialize with other veterans for peer support. Plus, for help filing a claim or appeal, you may want to work with an accredited lawyer, a claims agent, or a VSO. VA trusts these professionals because they're certified in VA claim and appeal processes. To learn more, go to va.gov and search for VSOs.
Hey, welcome back to Combat Vet Vision. We're here with Jessica Phillips, United States Air Force vet and advocate for veterans and combat vets. Jessica, could
Looks like we lost Chief. Chief, if you can hear us, pop on back in. We will see. I guess, Jessica, it is your show. What would you like to discuss today?
Yeah, I guess so. Waiting on Chief there. Well, I mean, we were definitely going over triggers and these things that we deal with as when our vets come home, and we don't ever, like, individually, we don't know how everybody is feeling, and leaving that door open to be in more open for that communication and how our vets want to communicate, and leaving that safe place for them to communicate effectively. I think that's the big part, as having a vet, especially if you have a veteran living with you, being able to, if they're trusting, to communicate with you, then you're able to discuss resources and support networks that your vet can actually benefit from. And I think that, like I said, I was touching base with that every vet is different. Every vet has different triggers. some of our vets have served in Afghanistan, some served in, Iraq. So they're going to have experienced different things. So, oh, here we go. You're back.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't put my phone on do not disturb, so when a call comes, it might get me kind of just off. But then it becomes your show for a little while. So sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. No worries. I didn't get to hear what you were asking. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I was just asking. What else did you want to talk about? It's great that you have all these different things going on.
So the main thing that I wanted to touch base on and see, get you to um, chime in on this is whenever we're communicating with our vets, and I'm saying from all ages, you're looking at from 20 to older. Um, what is some of the things that that you have seen even in the field that like you've helping vets and you're volunteering? Some things do you see that mothers and fathers that have a vet living with them that maybe be experiencing no sleep, maybe even be experiencing night terrors and stuff like that? What is your as far as like what have you seen like anything that has helped, including yourself, like with the night terrors?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that we should take into account when we're trying to help our vets and when our vets are supposed to be getting the help that they need. And we want to believe that when we go to the VA is going to be there to treat us. They're going to hook us up with some medications, and maybe that's gonna be okay. But I'm not a real big advocate for medications because they have such harmful effects, most of them. So I am an advocate for minimum dose necessary for the effect, because if you really do need to be on meds, then be on meds. But you still need to experience life as a veteran. Just because you served and you did the most extraordinary thing, and that's part of the thing, you feel like you just did the most important thing on the planet. You had life and death in your hands before. If you have the key to the nuke and you're able to turn that key, you're the most important piece of gear on the planet. But when you come home and the wife says take out the trash, you have to find meaning and
Oh, uh-oh. I I don't think we can hear you. Uh-oh, guys, I think we lost Chief. Um, well, I wanted to touch base with what he was going over. Now, as far as like medication wise, just kind of also give you a little bit of information until Chief gets back on. I also worked as a pharmacy technician for 10 to 12 years. I studied medications, what they do, and how they work. Um, so there is some medications out there that are definitely, they have good benefits. I agree with that. But one of the things that I have noticed is that when you're taking a medication and you will have like where it might be a pain medication for your back or it could be for your sleep. After so long, you have to, the doctor has to up your dose and the doctor has to later on prescribe you a new medication. So I'm agreeing with Chief on that. What I have kind of been diving more into is finding more natural remedies to help. So, trying to see what we can, do as far as natural remedies versus taking medication on a daily basis. Something that like finding a solution instead of putting a band-aid on it. That's my goal overall. It is to help my fellow vets and to help families is to find the solution. And if it's night terrors, or if it's you know, maybe not even night terrors, maybe, anxiety. You feel like feeling like the vet can't even go out in public because it's overwhelming. Finding a solution so that it can start turning that around. I know I was just talking to Chief about one of my triggers is if I have a day planned out and I have 15 things happen and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm so hard on myself. I'm like, I get frustrated. I get so angry. And I'm like, okay, I didn't finish like, these 10 things, and I was only able to finish these 5 things because I had this interruption. And it was like I strive off that consistency and that structure. So that is one of my triggers. So definitely working through that. Chief, you back on? You good?
I am. Yeah, I wanted to, I want to say that's such an amazing thing that you brought up is those triggers that cause, overwhelming forces. And that's something I work on too, because I want to make sure that I'm available for our veterans. So I don't want to add so much to my plate that I'm not able to break away. But, if I get overwhelmed, it becomes a trigger and I become frustrated that I wasn't able to take and do this one project or whatever it might be. But the other thing I wanted to say is that it's super important that a veteran lets down the walls that they might create, some of those walls, so that they can participate in something that may benefit them that they don't even know. And that being said, there's so many organizations out there doing some incredible things, incredible trips, incredible programs. There's some incredible jobs out there that may work for veterans and work around their frustrations, their irritations, and that they could do, and they can find passion and a good path in that. And so it's super important that they take on they at least break down the wall enough to say, hey, I will try 1 or 2 things every whatever amount of time you can get them to do that in. Maybe it's once a year, once a week is good, because then you got multiple, once a day, even better. And you break it down, right? But if you have only one ball that you love, this red ball, and that's all you love, sooner or later you're going to get tired of the red ball sometimes. And so then what are you going to do when you're not doing that? So it's important to grab a hold of other things that may help you in life. And one of those biggest things too you talked about is health and wellness, and being involved. I think no matter what we do, whether we're injured or not, we still need to partake in some sort of physical activity, and concentrate on eating the best that we can, even though there's so many selections of great food that you just want to eat. But it's important to kind of really take things in stride. So those are kind of the focuses that I want to talk about. And you talked about them and brought them up, and we talked about it. So it's really great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think fitness is definitely key. And it's and what we're eating. Oh my goodness, yes, that does play a big part. Because I can tell you right now, I could go what is it, to IHOP right now, and I can get a stack of waffles or whatever, and just pound down some sugar, and I would feel so sluggish. But yeah, it does matter, like, in what we're putting in our body, and our fitness really does play a part in the as far as like how I feel throughout the day. I literally work out, I would say, at least 5 to 6 days out of a week.
You are a personal trainer as well, correct?
Correct.
So this is why it's super important for you, and you've helped veterans along the way with that as well.
Yes, sir. One of the things that I like to do is a lot of people will ask, why do you want to go to the gym all the time? It's a release. You let off endorphins, and it also activates these sorry, can't even talk today. Neurotransmitters in your brain when you're working out. And the way I feel when I leave the gym is totally different than the way I felt when I went in. I'm letting out stress that I experienced throughout the day. Like even now, with people, my clients that I train, I hold them accountable. It's accountability, right? So I hold them accountable, and we have this structure where, like, they go in for this amount of time. We do this workout, and it's made such a big difference in my, like, as far as I would say, like, health wise, not just health, but the way I'm thinking in the morning. I get up and I'm definitely feeling a lot better, but I can tell the difference when I miss like 3 days in a week. Um, if I'm feeling a certain way, oh yeah, it, it's not good when I miss those 3 days. But when I get back into the gym, I'm a little bit more perky. I'm a little bit, because I've let off let out endorphins, and I've activated those neurotransmitters in my brain, and it does play a big part. So yes, sir.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And I want to say, and it's not like you have to go to the gym and work out really crazy. Maybe your abilities are only such that you can maybe do chair yoga or chair exercises. And there's so many great programs to do all these things. And the other thing, if you're able to get those endorphins, if you're able to, really kind of get those neurotransmitters going, this also takes effect. And you've experienced it recently because you came into my warrior group. That's super important just to check that out. And it's super important that you even checked it out, because you get to experience something like that. And then you get to also help other veterans and say, hey, this is a group that would be good for you, because I've actually gone to it and found something that worked for me or whatnot, or it didn't. You can definitely go through a lot of veterans. They'll say, hey, this didn't work, or that did work. And it's super important to get that line of communication with your fellow veterans in order, so that you have a battle buddy that you can experience stuff with or not. And in those groups are super important to me, because I feel the same way as the gym in a lot of ways. Get to drop something off. I get to understand somebody else's mindset, and then I also get to leave that group feeling totally different than when I came into it too. So, and if you want to talk about any of that, Jessica, feel free. And feel free.
Yes.
Feel free to put any last thoughts in there. And then if people want to get a hold of you, they definitely can through my show and through me. Hit me up, but feel free to put any of your information out there that you'd like to after that.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I actually wanted to make a point that being on that Warriors group call actually opened up my eyes to a lot of different things, that um, you're not the only one. You have, like, you're surprised that you have a lot more in common with others than you think. And it took me getting on that Zoom call, and it did help me out a lot. I was having a hard time sleeping, and got to hear the guys, and they give me a little bit of information about how they handle, hey, this is what I do, and I'm like, I might try that. But like you said, it definitely opens the door. And I loved how everybody was very supportive on the call. It was very not only did I learn things, but it helped me through things that I was also dealing with. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you remember, like, the text messages that you would get when you're in the military, and you just, like, you'd have to answer, and then if you saw green Corvette or red Corvette, what that meant. But actually having people check in on you, I had people check in on me and just be like, after the call, hey, how's your day going? And it was really nice, because um, just have that support team. But I'm also, I'm an author, and I love writing. That's another outlet that I actually love doing, is writing out my feelings. So I have a blog, and I can actually share it with all of you guys. And if y'all ever want to, just, I don't know how many of the listeners like to read blogs, or like to read. I normally write like poems and stuff. So, but right now I'm working on my second book, and it's a little bit about me and my family. So yeah, hopefully we'll finish that by the end of the year. So working on that.
Nice. Hey, and what book did you write? And if people want to get a hold of you, where they can find you and whatnot.
Okay, yeah. So the name of my book is called Whisper from Within. And you can find it at Barnes and Noble. And I do have a couple different websites that you can also find me. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. And if you just type in Whisper from Within, you can actually find me on Facebook as well. And if you type in my name, Jessica Phillips, you will find me on Instagram. But I'm under Coach Jessie on my Instagram. But I do have a blog, and I'm actually so sorry. I've had it pulled up. And if you would give me just a second, Chief, I'll get that pulled up for you so I can tell you guys. Okay, so if you would go to, it's called blogspot.com, and my link, it will say Fearfully and Wonderfully Made is what you will type in to look at my blog as well. I try to at least blog, I would say at least every other day. And I do put like little pointers there as well. My social media page, I share resources. I'm also working with getting other resources all over for like our schools, colleges, even for the vets' families, events that we can get. So I will be sharing a lot of that on my social media page as well. But yeah, if you guys want to get a hold of me, definitely can get a hold of Chief here, and he'll send over the information if you can't find me, for sure.
Definitely. Well, Jessica, hey, thanks a lot for being on the show, and I look forward to having some other ones with you in the future. And this is super important, this trigger subject, and thanks for being a female veteran that we talked about it and allowed for others to hopefully feel secure and maybe come out. And your patriotism is duly noted, and thanks for your support for all of our veterans and combat veterans as well. And the PTSD Foundation of America. Thanks. I talk about that, as well as the Warrior Bill Foundation. Is such great organizations. But we'll have you back.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, this is Combat Vet Vision. This is a place where a lot of people get to talk about things that are important to them to help our veterans move forward in better directions. Obviously, the combat vet is something that I can handle and work with the most. But there's a lot of veterans out there that are doing incredible things, female veterans as well. Let's not forget and keep them motivated, and let the female veteran know, hey, you served, you're a veteran, and not just, oh yeah, I served, but I don't feel like I'm a veteran. So much appreciation. That's a stigma that seems to be out there, along with PTSD as well. So until next time, hey, this is Aaron Siebert, retired Navy Chief. Strength and honor. Out.
Under blue skies, the only way, like the sun beating.